What's up, Power Club? Good job tonight. Once again, you guys all did really well. Real quick, well, it's not going to be real quick, but usually we do our little podcasts and stuff, but I didn't have time to do that with a couple of people. So we're not going to make this one into a podcast. I'm just going to give you a little quick few words to talk about the mental game. Since we all know that we have a meet coming up in 2 weeks, pretty cool thing. I just talked to Tanya, and we are doing the teams, so that's exciting. Finally, we're back at it, I feel like, so I'm pretty excited about that. We get the team names in, and we're going to give them our best, so pretty pumped about it. Anyway, back to what I was talking about the mental part of the game. So I'm going to give you a little backtrack here. Back when I was competing, and Eric and a few of my other buddies, there was a guy we trained with that Eric would remember him, obviously, but his name was Brett. This guy was a monster. And I think, as a matter of fact, he was in the NFL for a little while. Really looked up to him. He was really smart, did exercise science, all the things that Eric and I did. And he was into the strength conditioning world. Really knew his stuff, was really smart, real smart guy. Definitely a thinker once you got to know him in training. But anyways, he was a super strong person in the gym. And it was typically at the Y that we lifted with him with. And this guy, no kidding, when he introduced us into the band training, but in the band training, you guys know our bands we have at the gym, but we used to do a lot of training against the bands, and meaning, we take the big green bands, we loop them through the bottom, loop them up on top of the bar, sometimes 2 of them, sometimes 3 of them, sometimes a couple green bands and a blue band, which, sometimes you're in a 500-pound range of just band tension. It was pretty intense. But this individual would come in the gym. The guy was the best squatter I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of lifters in my time. And this guy would easily have 800, 700 to 800 pounds on the bar. That was without the bands. And so, who knows? I have no clue to tell you exactly what the tension was at the top because we're all different heights. But I can tell you it was quite the load because the bar was completely bent every time he did it. Just like this. And never made much noise, just went in, did his stuff. Didn't videotape himself, didn't have to have all the music or all the weird shit. But anyways, guy was just a specimen. Talking about the mental part again. He basically just went in and did the work. Same thing with his deadlift. Same thing with his deadlift, super strong. And the bench, mediocre. He wasn't really built the bench, but he's still a great bench pusher. Long story short, trained with this guy for a long time. Super freak of an athlete, by the way. Never would compete. And I always thought, well, maybe he's on the gas. Maybe this and that because he doesn't compete in the APL with us and this and this. And, you start thinking things because it's like, gosh, I'm only half as good as this guy. And he doesn't even compete, He just loves to lift weights, which that's okay. Well, finally we talked him into doing some meets. And he'd get to the meet and do his weights. But it seemed like he would crumble. And not badly, but like seen him do weights in the gym way more than I've ever seen him do in a competition. And this went on for a few years where I just never quite understood. So obviously he didn't do a whole lot of meets. But I could tell you if you went in and worked out with the guy in the gym, he'd blow you away every time. And that's getting my point of the mental game. And I think as coaches and sometimes as athletes and individuals, you see it. Even with my daughter in gymnastics, there's times where I'll see her do routines where she does them 100 times over at home. And I'm like, God, that kid's crazy. Then all of a sudden we get her out in front of 50 people or 100 people and she's by herself and she's not smiling and she's like in the deer in headlights, and I'm going, she still does good, but it's not like perfect, like what she does at home. And it's almost like sometimes we get, and I'm sure you guys can all relate to this, and I'm sure you've all seen it, like You probably even know some of your teammates like this. And maybe yourself, like, geez, I hit that in the gym so easy and awesome out here and this and that. So, not to be long-winded, but like sometimes you need to let go of all the bullshit. And I was an example of it too. Not as bad as like the individual I was talking about, but there was times I'd get to meets too and be like, and some of it was not knowing how to program at the time. We didn't know what we were doing. We just lifted. And there's some of that in there, obviously. But there's still that mental part of the game where I was always concerned about, I knew who I was going against. I knew who was the best. I was always concerned, well, where are they at? What are they doing? Then I get to the meet and I'm watching them, literally watching them. And then I'd catch myself. Well, I wouldn't catch myself, but like I'd be competing with them in the warm-ups. I know it sounds dumb, but like I had said, it was so mental. And no one ever taught me anything about that. It didn't teach me how to wire my energy. I had a ton of energy. I'd outwork anybody in the gym pretty much. But it was meaningless because when I had to come to apply all that work at the time when it really counted, my head would get in the way. An ego or whatever you want to call it. But the mental part of it is huge. It's huge in what you guys are going to be doing in the competition coming up and the rest of the competitions that you ever go to. So the reason I'm doing this video is maybe try to help you guys. And I didn't get that kind of help. And I don't know if this will help or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. So think about the mental part of your game. If you seem like you're that type of person that for some reason it's like, gosh, had the best training cycle ever, it just doesn't ever seem to go right. Every time I go to the meet, it's like I just can't do this or that. Start looking at your mental game. Start realizing like how to build that confidence level in whatever situation you're at. Not just confidence, but self-awareness, meaning, like for me, it was poor. Self-awareness of knowing when to turn on the gas and when not to. I mentioned to a couple guys tonight, I had a little awakening moment. My daughter pulled the truck over the other night, and she needed to be told that she doesn't need to keep worrying about what everybody else thinks. And that can be a big part of a mental game, not just for a young teenage girl, but for an adult like ourselves. And don't quit worrying about what everybody else is doing or what everybody else thinks or whatever you think my expectations are of you, because that doesn't matter. Of course, I expect a shit ton from you guys. But you know what? I'm going to be proud of you regardless. As long as you go out there and give it your all and you show up and you do what you can do, I'm proud and I don't care. Because that's all I expect of you. But regardless, you shouldn't be thinking of what Matt's expectations are. You shouldn't be thinking what the other lifters are thinking of you or what their expectations of your lift should be. Pure example, openers. Everybody thinks they got to prove something. It's a pure example. I guess I just thought of that. It's a pure example of self-awareness. There's no reason to open up huge or to take big jumps all the time. You're not there to prove something to anybody but yourself. And by making those mistakes, the only thing you're proving to yourself is that you made mistakes. Unfortunately, I didn't have somebody slap me across the face to tell me all this. I probably could have did a lot better. But trying to tell you guys so that when you get there, it's about you. Have fun. Relax. It's supposed to be fun. We're not going there for $1 million. You're not going to lose your house right after the meet because you didn't hit your numbers. Okay? It's just for funsies. And there's people that really wish they could be in your shoes to be able to do what you're doing. Those of you that have been injured, like myself, other people, watching that stuff gets me pumped up. And there's also a big side of me wish I was in there. And there's a lot of other people who wish they could do the same thing. So go out there and enjoy yourself. Have fun with it. But be on top of your mental game also. It's not always just about your strength and the work that you put in. That's a big part. But when it comes to game time, it all is right here. This is what will win. Like I always tell you guys, some of my best lifts, don't even remember. Because you're so mentally in the game. Not crazy, psycho, worked up, but just mentally prepared and ready to rock and roll and confident. Confidence is a huge thing, and it's not about, well, I'm not confident. It's not like that. It's just confidence in yourself that you could give two shits what somebody else thinks what you lift. And you could care less what anybody else's expectations are. It's all about your own. Okay? Hopefully this somewhat helps. Really work on that mental part. Relax. Enjoy the moment. Have fun in the moment. Because guess what? The next day is going to come. You're going to get right back up again. And you go right back to work. So it doesn't even matter. All right? Hope that helped. I'm excited. Keep working hard. Next week's a big week. Take care, guys.